For Marcus Reed, a 34-year-old widower and a factory worker, this was his daily reality. 4 years after losing his wife, the vibrant energy that once filled their home had been replaced by a quiet hum of responsibility. His days were spent in the deafening roar of a steel mill, the air thick with the metallic temps of molten ore. Nights were a blur of exhaustion, often finding him asleep on the worn sofa. Emma his bright-eyed 9-year-old, their shared weariness, a testament to their unwavering bond. Emma, with her mother's spirit shining in her eyes, was his entire world, his solace, his reason. He'd work late, the acrid smell of grease and metal clinging to him, then rush home, the only thought of her smile, pushing him through the long hours. He'd make sure she ate, help her with homework, and read her stories until her breathing evened out, his own eyes heavy with fatigue. Sometimes, he'd just sit there, watching her sleep, a silent promise forming in his heart, a promise to give her more than this relentless struggle. One dreary Tuesday, a crisp white envelope arrived, a stark contrast to the usual bills and junk mail. It was from a law firm, informing him of the passing of his Elias Thorne, a man Marcus barely remembered, a shadowy figure from his childhood, whispered about as a family eccentric. Elias, a reclusive librarian, had left Marcus's sole possession, a coastal cottage, described as dilapidated, in a remote fishing village called Port Blossom. His colleagues at the mill, their faces grimy with dust, snickered. A crumbling relic, read. One of them scoffed, wiping sweat from his brow. Probably falling into the sea by now. What a parting gift. But Marcus saw beyond their he saw a flicker of hope, a chance to escape the suffocating grip of their current existence, a chance for a new beginning for him and Emma. He pictured Emma's laughter echoing in a new space, free from the constant shadow of financial strain. He imagined sunsets over the ocean, a different kind of noise replacing the clatter of the mill. It was a fragile hope, easily dismissed by others, but for Marcus, it was a lifeline. The journey to Port Blossom was a quiet one, punctuated by Emma's excited chatter about the sea. As they rounded the final bend, the cottage appeared, perched precariously on a cliff overlooking the choppy gray waters. It was, to put it mildly, a wreck. The roof sagged like an old man's shoulders, the salt-stained clapboard walls were peeling, and the garden was a wild tangle of sea-worn weeds and briny seaweed. The front door, weathered and warped, creaked open with a mournful groan, revealing an interior cloaked in dust and shadow. Yet, as Marcus surveyed the scene, a small voice piped up beside him. "It's ours, Dad. It's a castle." Emma's unbridled joy, her sheer belief, cut through Marcus's own apprehension. It was a broken place, yes, but it was theirs. Fueled by Emma's enthusiasm, Marcus, armed with sheer determination and a handful of borrowed tools, began the arduous task of breathing life back into the old cottage. He patched the gaping holes in the walls, his hands raw and blistered, replaced the jagged shards of glass in the windows with salvaged panes, and cleared the encroaching seaweed from the small patch of yard. The villagers, weathered and taciturn, watched from a distance, their murmurs like the crashing waves, whispers of futility, of a city man out of his depth. But Marcus paid them no mind. Each evening, after long hours of back-breaking work, he'd sit with Emma by the flickering light of a single bulb, reading stories of faraway lands and brave adventurers, their shared dreams slowly taking shape within the salt-laced air. He'd tuck her into a makeshift bed, the scent of the sea a constant lullaby, and whisper, "We're building something special, Em." One particularly ferocious storm descended upon Port Blossom, the wind howling like a banshee and the rain lashing against the cottage with relentless fury. Marcus, ever the diligent protector, ventured out to the old shed, a rickety structure leaning precariously against the seawall, to secure a loose shutter. The floorboards, rotten with age and damp, groaned under his weight. Suddenly, with a sickening crack, the wood gave way, and Marcus plunged downwards, landing with a jarring thud onto something hard and metallic. Dust billowed around him. Disoriented but unharmed, he realized he hadn't just fallen through rotting wood. He'd stumbled upon a hidden metal hatch, cleverly concealed beneath a layer of earth and debris. Curiosity, a long-dormant ember within him, ignited. He worked feverishly, clearing away the debris, his heart pounding in his chest. Beneath the metal hatch, he discovered a sturdy wooden With a deep breath, he descended a narrow, cobweb-draped ladder, the beam of his flashlight cutting through the oppressive darkness. What greeted him was astonishing. The cellar, untouched for what felt like an eternity, was a time capsule. Crates, stacked high, overflowed with antique books, their leather bindings cracked and their pages brittle with age. Rare manuscripts, their ink faded but their stories potent, lay alongside tarnished silver jewelry, glinting faintly in the dim light. It wasn't just a collection. It was a treasure trove, a secret history waiting to be unveiled. The revelation of Marcus's discovery sent ripples of excitement through Port Blossom and far beyond. Experts, their eyes alight with scholarly fervor, descended upon the cottage. They identified the collection as priceless cultural artifacts, painstakingly saved and hidden by Marcus's. Elias, they explained, had been a dedicated, albeit reclusive, librarian who, during the turbulent post-war era, had recognized the fragility of history and had dedicated himself, safeguarding these treasures from potential destruction or neglect. The collection was valued at over $2 million. Suddenly, the quiet fishing village was thrust into the global spotlight. Reporters, cameras flashing, descended like seagulls, eager to capture the story of the struggling single father and his unexpected inheritance. Curious locals, who had once dismissed Marcus, now approached him with hesitant smiles and even small gifts, freshly caught fish jars of homemade jam. Yet, through the whirlwind of attention, Marcus remained remarkably grounded. He learned that Elias had hidden the collection not for personal gain, but out of a profound sense of duty, a quiet resolve to preserve the past. As Marcus carefully handled the delicate manuscripts and admired the intricate craftsmanship of the silver, he felt an unexpected kinship with his reclusive great-uncle, a shared understanding of the importance of stewardship. The influx of wealth and attention presented Marcus with a profound choice. He received numerous lucrative offers from collectors and institutions, eager to acquire the artifacts. But Marcus, remembering Elias's quiet dedication and his own desire to build something meaningful for Emma and their new community, made a decision that surprised many. He chose to donate the vast majority of the collection to international archives and museums, ensuring Elias's mission of preservation would continue on a global scale. He kept a small selection of the most cherished the ones Emma particularly loved for their whimsical illustrations and adventurous tales. With the remaining proceeds, Marcus fulfilled a long-held dream. He transformed the dilapidated shed, the very place where his life had taken its unexpected turn, into a free library for the children of Port Blossom. He named it Emma's Haven, a sanctuary of stories and knowledge, a testament to the hope Emma had ignited. The spirit of generosity and preservation began to weave its way through Port Blossom. Neighbors, once aloof, grew kinder, sharing in the village's renewed sense of identity and pride. Emma, her eyes sparkling with pride, would often tell her new friends, "My dad mends things, homes and dreams." The hidden legacy wasn't just in the dusty crates, it was in the love, the selflessness, and the enduring power of dreams. As you reflect on Marcus's journey, what resonates most with you? Is it the resilience of a father's love, the unexpected twists of fate, or the profound impact of choosing legacy over personal gain? These are the questions that truly enrich our lives. Remember, sometimes the greatest treasures aren't buried in the ground, but are hidden within ourselves, waiting to be discovered through courage and a willingness to embrace the unexpected. We hope Marcus's story has inspired you to look for the hidden legacies in your own life and to consider the lasting impact of your choices. If you enjoyed this story and want more tales of hope, resilience, and discovery, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your subscription helps us continue to share these meaningful narratives.